You know what? My name's Ray. I'm an alcoholic addict. Um, nervous, nervous. Um, thank you. Go Broncos. You know what? I was born March 15th, 1980. I lived in San Pedro for 3 years at that time till my dad passed away. He died from alcohol abuse. He was working on the docks as a longshoreman. My mother died 6 months later in a car wreck. From there, I was a trust fund baby. My uncle took me in. My uncle Larry, who I call my dad today, Patrick knows him. He decided that it was best to blow my inheritance on partying with his wife and his family. And once it was over, they shipped me off to CPS. It wasn't his actions, it was his wife's. For whatever reason, his wife hated me. I inherited 2 brothers, 2 sisters. He married a Latina lady, so therefore, majority of my family is Mexican. They resided in this city since the late 40s, early 50s, Ramirez and Espinoza. Majority of them were all longshoremen. So growing up, you know, once I finally got in, that was hard in the CPS system because I always felt different. You know, you're sitting there with you know, at holidays and Christmases and everybody's families coming and bringing them gifts, and I'm sitting there alone in the corner. You know, how come, where's mine at? How come nobody loves me? My uncle, who I call my dad today, he tried, but, you know, he did the best he could with what he could do. You know, he fought for me through a rough custody battle as his own attorney, got me out of CPS, got custody of me. And when I went back, I felt different. You know, growing up, looking back and going through the program of Fred Brown and realizing some things, I don't think I never grieved for my parents when I was young. I was too young. You know, and I always felt different. I always felt unwanted from those kids. You know, always, you know, the ones who showed me love were my brother Lenny and my brother Larry. Larry passed, I'll get into that later. I remember when I found alcohol. Alcohol gave me a sense of wanting. I felt belonged. Didn't matter what group I was in, didn't matter who I associated with, that's who I was with. I heard some young lady last week speaking about being punk rock. That's when I joined the punk rock scene. You know, because in that scene, they accepted for who you are. They didn't care what you did, you know, and it was your job to be a dirtbag. And you know what? I loved it. I loved the lifestyle. I loved going to shows. I loved fucking creating chaos and carnage, and that's what I did. I drank and drugged from 13 to 43. Being an angry youth, I wanted the world to feel my pain. So I created hell in my household and hell on the streets, and I didn't care. By the time I was 19, I was sent to prison. I didn't do no county time. My first prison term was for armed robbery. I had a drug habit to support. I had an alcohol habit to support. And I remember walking on the yard my first time at 19 years old, looking up at the sky saying, Dad, I made it. I was proud of myself. I took it as a badge of honor. I made it, Pop. And I lived that way for a lot of years. Growing up, I didn't like authority. I learned that dealing with Jesse here at Fred Brown. The situation I had with him helped me reflect, and I did a lot of doing that here, reflect, a lot of dug deep here. You know, thank you for that lesson. But you know what? I had authority problems. I hated cops. I didn't care. I hated teachers. I hated just anything to do. Even my own pop couldn't. It got to the point with Larry where he tried, but you couldn't speak to me. And, you know, him being a single father, taking care of 5 siblings, working on the night side on the docks, you know what? When he went to work, it was game on. We had parties at our house. I mean, it was just, our house was the neighborhood house at night where everyone could go to and just run amok and nobody would care. Cops would show up, he wouldn't find out. You know, it was just one of those things, you know. And I lived like that for many years. Finally got to a point where I got kicked out of my house as a youth before I was 18. You know, Larry had to pull a gun on me because I was too crazy. I was too crazy, and I like that though. I didn't want you to respect me. I want you to fear me. And I acted nuts, and so I took off. Me and my friend Troy, you know, we ran the streets, went to Hollywood, went to a lot of shows, you know, slept out on the streets. At this time, I'm 17, 18, young man, using heroin, drinking. I thought it was cool. I mean, you know, the dirtiest thing I've ever done, I was such a dope fiend, is I used toilet water to freaking do a shot. Luckily I ain't got no diseases. But going back to prison, it was like, what? I remember so many times my parole officer would try to send me to a program, tried to send me to a rehab. And, I actually thought at one time prison was a vacation. If I got a job in the kitchen, I had access to sugar. If I had access to sugar, unlimited amount of Pruno. My mindset as a youth was always about how I could get fucked up as quick as I can, as fast as I can, and as hard as I can. I've destroyed marriages. I've destroyed homes. I've destroyed relationships with family members. Some of them can never be, repaired. I thank God for RBH. I got aunts and uncles out here that live out here today that haven't seen me since I was young. And the only thing that they remember Ray by is the craziness. Fast forward, I've done 6 terms, God knows how many violations, because I just didn't want to listen. I did it my way because you guys didn't know shit. But I was always in pain. And what I loved about drugs and alcohol was the ability to numb myself, because I didn't have to face my current reality. I didn't have to face my truth. It would help distort my truth and what my life really was. After my last term coming out in 2012, I got 4 years. I got out on Prop 47. I told myself I'm never going back again. I've had enough. By that time, the system was changing. 50 yards, just all the stupid shit. I had enough of it. And being in Oceanside at the time, I got bused in San Diego. So where I got bused is where I had a parole to. So I lived out there the first 15 years. I got married out there, destroyed a marriage, built a career out there. And in doing so, in all the destroying, when I finally realized that, I want to change, I met a man named Joe Maurer, a former Master Gunnery Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. And he was like my mentor. And I needed somebody hard-nosed like that to put a boot in my ass to say, this is how you live life, son. And what you're doing is wrong. And I listened to him. And in turn, I met a lot of Marine friends. What I love about Marines and Navy boys is they drink the way I do. And I could go on base with them back to their barracks when they're having their fucking parties, and I could drink like them and be with them, and they'd drop me off in the front gate and I'd go home and everything would be happy. But I learned a lot of things from them. How to talk to a lady, how to be respectful to people, how to, have discipline and go to work. But, deep down inside, I've never loved myself. I've always had low self-esteem. I've always had low self-worth. I feel I'm ugly. These are the things I deal with, but I'm too afraid to tell you. If I look good on the outside and look like Ozzy and Harriet, nobody's going to suspect nothing. And I lived like that for a lot of years. I remember in 2020, 21, I'm at work and I get a phone call or a text from my friend Doyle, and Doyle says, call me, and I call him up and he said, your nephew and your brother got shot. And when I call him up, I hear the details. My brother, my little cousin, my little nephew, Larry, my nephew, Larry's son, decided, all tweaked out and a blackout drunk, to take a gun, go up in Lake Isabella, knock out his window, walk up in there and shoot him and shoot himself. I love that kid, man. It did something to me that day. Part of me went with him. I love Larry. Larry was one of those guys that no matter what I was going through, he protected me from his mother. He stood up for me. He tried the best he could to. He was the only type of discipline I had growing up. And so I drank and drug as hard as I could, as long as I could. I was deep down, I wanted to kill myself. It hurt saying goodbye. It still hurts to this day. I was lost for a lot of years. So what brought me to San Pedro this time? Coming to San Pedro, I was working at Benihana. I was, a chef there. And, but what I love about working in the restaurant business is, and let me rewind a little bit. My first job getting out of prison at that time was a janitor. You know, I knew how to be a janitor, strip wax floors, did all that. My boss retired. I landed, I figured my best thinking was, well, you know, all my years in the scullery, it ain't that hard to wash dishes in a restaurant. And I excelled and I kicked ass. And you know what? One thing led to another. Went from a prep cook, went from there to, you know, becoming a line cook, became a sushi chef at Benihana. It's like, you know, I'm proud of that. Because for me, an alcoholic like myself, a loser, you know, I was in prison before I could even buy alcohol legally. And here I am building a career, doing something positive. But you know what? My GM sat me down and said, Ray, I see it all over you. You're all screwed up, man. You know, and you know what? You're one of the best I got. But, you know, if you get in an accident, I'm going to have to test you. We all know what that means. So, you know, finally I had a bright idea of going to Santa Barbara. So before I came out here, I went to my brother's grave and I just stayed here. I think I was trying to look for my family, but I was so fucked up in the process. I didn't know where I was going. I was out here for 3 weeks in a blackout for a week and a half of those 3 weeks, not all the way. My divine intervention, I thank LAPD today for pulling up behind me on Point Furman Park. They say it's not true, but when I told them what I told Liz what my bottom was in intake, I think they decided to take me to mental health. I cleared that. But you know what? When I came here to Fred Brown, I was in the darkest place I've ever been in my life. And I told myself as a young man, I'll never come to one of these places. This is my first time in treatment, first time trying to do this on my, you know, and I needed help. And you guys took a chance on me. In this time, I worked very hard. I dug very deep. You know, for me, this was all business. This is not a game. This is the rest of my life. I'm 43. I don't want to be sitting here when I'm 50 trying to do this again. I have ambitions today. I got goals. You know, I'm still working through that. I've been here and there were nights where I would just cry and I couldn't sleep. You know, but it's okay. It's okay to cry. I've learned in these rooms. It's okay to release. The best thing I could tell you is, you know what you put in this program is what you're going to get out of it. You know, I'm graduating 2 weeks early. I finished all my curriculum within 60 days, and it's not a race, and I wasn't trying hard. I just wanted this more than anything. I know I don't want to die, and I know I don't want to go back to the yard. You know, life is worth living today. There's a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. You know, thanks for taking the chance on me. I hope you guys find what you're looking for in life and in sobriety. And may God bless you all. Thanks for letting me share.
You could have kept going, Ray. You did such a good job. That was okay. You know, it's open mic night. Maybe if you forgot something, which tends to happen when we come up and share, you can pop back up and fill us in. But, you know, you worked so incredibly hard, always willing to be of service. I think you're going to have some prickly points when you're in RBH. You have to wait till I finish and I'll let you back up. But my biggest advice to you is meet people where they're at, kind of like what we do here, because you're super serious and determined, but other people may not be at that place. And you have to help them and show them the way in a nice, positive way, right? Because otherwise you're just going to invite some extra drama and extra irritation into your life that you don't need, but that would be your own making, right? So you have it in you, I see it, but just bring other people with you as from an inspiring point of view, not from a gun to your head point of view. All right, come on up. You said you were. Oh, yeah.
Get it right. One more time. I only have 2 minutes. One more time, Ray, alcoholic addict. You know, I'm going to tell you guys, the moment I think that something clicked for me here, not only in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, but in Fred Brown, especially at 19th Street. 19th Street, love you guys, man. Thanks for rolling with me through this, bro. Real shit. But you know, there's a counselor named Vic here. It was within my first month. And we were all sitting down. There was 12 of us at the couch, and I think Alex remembers this. And then Alex stepped out, I think. But you know, Vic said, "Look to your left and right. Out of 12 people, only 2% or 2 people are going to make it." Something I took that as a challenge. that actually motivated me. It lit a fire under me to drive. And I'm the type of person that when I want something, I'm tunnel vision. And that pushed me. So, you know, I want you to look to the left or right of you right now. You know, the reality is if we don't put the work in here to stay in here, we're not going to make it. You know, when somebody told me in these rooms, 2 things that takes us out, finance and romance. And I'm sorry, there's no woman in the world that's worth my life today. I came in here broken. You guys helped me put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And, you know, Fred Brown, I'm forever grateful. Thank you.